thank you all first for investing your time here and coming today. And so today we're tackling a very important topic here, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice in the workplace, which really we'll be looking at, talking about some of the barriers and that people of color may face in achieving kind of their career success. But I want to also mention that it's not just for people of color. The challenges that we're talking about here are really applicable for everybody. Everyone can benefit from the learnings and challenges that we'll be kind of talking about how we go about embracing some change. And so really what we hope for you to accomplish is by the end of this discussion, no matter your background, no matter your story, that you walk away with some actionable insights that can help you in your own journey to achieve your own success in your life. And so as far as the format, what we'll do is I'll call up the panels here in a second, and I'll be sharing some tidbits, some studies, and some statistics that hopefully enlighten kind of your perspective on the implications of the barriers that we may see in the workplace. And then we're going to hear from our panel on ways in which they've been able to navigate that to help them achieve their success. And so we hope you walk away with a few insights, and at a very minimum, at least some quesadillas. There's going to be that at the end as well, or you can even grab that now as well as we go through it. So I'm going to ask our panelists to come here, and I'm going to be using my phone to control the slides here. I'm not checking my Twitter feed or anything like that. So if I can go ahead and ask the panelists, work. Doesn't look like it's connected now. What happened here? Oh, yes. Forgot my mic. All right, so it looks like I'll have to go back here and control this since my Mentimeter's off. And so we'll start with some brief introductions. And if we can just go ahead and come up here, if the panel can just go ahead and make their way up here and here. And then I'll start with my introduction of myself as everyone makes their way to the front here. And so again, I'm the moderator for today, Dr. John Garcia. And I'll tell a little bit about myself. So my beginnings start with many years ago, coming in as an immigrant. When my parents were immigrant parents, I used to pick fruit with them in the summers, and I was humble beginnings. And then I was a first generation high school graduate and first generation college graduate. And from then I went on to the corporate world for 21 years, where I ended up rising to executive level roles at Toyota, where I spent 15 years after spending some time at Ernst & Young for 6 years. And my background, I do have some degrees from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Northwestern University, and Creighton University in Notre Dame. And so, but ultimately, that kind of brought me to where I'm at here as an assistant professor of finance and analytics. And really, I look for bringing the real world into the classroom to help us achieve our success and achieve our potential that we're all capable of achieving. So that's a little bit about myself. And what I'd like to do is kick it over to, I'll start with Rafael, and maybe you can share a little bit about yourself, and then we can go down the line.
Okay, thank you, John. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another panel of very good people. The university, thank you for provide us a space to talk to people and be of help, right? My name is Rafael. I'm the director of IT for a school in Santa Barbara. I started my journey way back when I came to the United States in 2013, not knowing any English. Not that I know now, but and then start my way up. I graduated last year of my master's in IT from Cal Lutheran, and I'm happy to be here back again and just to help people out. So,
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittney Elhard. I'm the Senior Director of Technology Operations and Services over at JD Power in Westlake Village. I've been with the company it'll be 20 years next year. So I actually started my journey, and we'll talk about it today, but I started my journey in 2004 there when I graduated from CLU. And then I'm also a recent graduate of the MSIT program. So this is the tech table. You can ask us any troubleshooting questions that you might have after. But yes, I graduated with Rafael last year in 2022 in information technology. So happy to be here. I always encourage any questions that you might have. So please feel free when it's time to ask, ask anything. Thank you.
My name is Mark Garcia. I'm the CFO of Arts of Cold. My journey started here being from immigrant parents, similar like John. One of my grandfathers was part of the Bracero program. So if you ever done any history, look that up. My other grandfather was part of the UFW and picked cotton all through the valley with Cesar Chavez. Parents grew up picking and packing houses as well. Fast forward, I got my MBA from Cal Lutheran, with a concentration in finance. I teach international finance here as well. And happy to be here. And again, just any questions that you guys have for any one of us, that's what we're here for, to help you guide and navigate through this life. It's very difficult. So thank you.
And I'm Karen King. My start was in New York City. That's where I'm born and raised from. And I would say I've tried to navigate life a little differently. My undergraduate is in biology, and I was a scientist for many years at some of the big companies like Amgen, which is in the area. And from there, I knew I wanted to do more than just be a scientist. And I went into regulatory, but how I got there was by getting my MBA here at Cal Lutheran. And since then, I've also got a law degree from Seton Hall, which is a Master of Science in Law, to just further my regulatory career, because I believe that lifelong learning is what helps you navigate to success, especially in a diverse environment.
Well, welcome everybody. So before we get into some questions for the panel, I want to share a few statistics as we go along. Let's see if we can get this to work now. No, so I'll just go over here and change it. And so the one statistic that I want to share here is from a recent study from Deloitte. Deloitte, one of the largest consulting firms out there. And they did a study of employees in large corporations, and they found that 83% of respondents described experiencing or witnessing subtle, indirect biases or microaggressions in the workplace. So the point here is that sometimes microaggressions and these biases that we see are not overt. They're kind of just there in the background. And so it's something that can affect how we address them. So throughout today's discussion, I'm going to be asking for some input and kind of self-reflection of you. So to do that, I'm going to ask you to answer a question here. And so to do that, you can bring on your phone. I know your phone's close by. And if you go to the menti.com and input this code, or scan this barcode if you can get that far, and just tell us kind of your thoughts on this. Have you experienced bias or underrepresentation in your own journey? So let's take a moment and see where you're all at. All right, so far about 3/4, 2/3 of you, 2/3 to 3/4 are saying that you've experienced some level of bias or underrepresentation in your journey, and roughly 1/3 maybe has not. And so it's like 23 of you have voted. So let me now move forward and ask this question here of the panel. And the first question here is going to be that we have here is, can you share a personal experience where you faced bias or underrepresentation in your professional journey? And how did you navigate that situation? Well, let's start with Karen on this one. And
So I spent the majority of my career in the pharmaceutical industry. And if anyone knows anything about that, I'm definitely underrepresented. right? There's a very underrepresentation of women in the pharma industry, and especially of African Americans. And I can tell you a story where I faced lots of bias in my career, especially in the early stages. I successfully was getting promoted, but when I asked that I wanted to manage folks, I wanted to be able to give back what I learned, I wanted to develop leaders, I was told that I needed to go back to school to get an MD, right? An MD or PhD is something that was not needed to do the work that I was doing. My own manager, who said this at the time, also did not have these types of degrees. And it was a very difficult thing to see that they were okay promoting me to a certain level, and then they didn't want me to go any further for whatever reason that was. And I felt I was catching up to him. Like, is that where he just felt like, okay, she's one level below me, I can't let her get any further. And the reasoning started to be just like, preposterous. And if you're going to go to medical school, you can't still work, right? You just can't. You can't even work and get a PhD, especially in a science field in which I was doing. So, at first I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up, right? And I went home and I thought about it, that I should quit. And then I was like, you can't allow one person's perspective to determine your future. And from there, I was like, he's not going to stop me. I'm going to figure this out. This is my career. And I was told by a mentor that I am the CEO of my career. And I had to figure out how I want to navigate this and what to do. And that's kind of what led me into saying, I'm going to get an MBA. I'm going to learn how to not only be a better leader, learn how to manage people, and to make sure this doesn't happen to other people. And so I came to Cal Lutheran. And I could say, once getting into Cal Lutheran and finished that program, and Gerhard likes to be amazed that I finished it in 1 year, because I was determined to do something that they said I could not do. And in doing that, it's like I got tapped on the shoulder there to go into regulatory. And it's where I've been for the last 10 or 15 years. And then I was leading people and I was managing people and have grown so much since then. And I think I really owe that to Cal Lutheran, because we got to work with really diverse people during my program. There were international students, there were people from all over California and some from other countries and states that I felt really helped form the person that I am, and how I was able to navigate that, get further promoted. He was eventually the guy was asked to resign and retire early, and I'm still above where he ended up ending his career at.
That's fantastic. No, thank you for sharing your thoughts on it. Anybody else want to add some of your own experiences that you've had?
I will say, just in technology in general, there's not a lot of females. We are seeing an uptick of it, so I'm very thankful for that. But I kind of went into that field 8-9 years ago when there was not very many people that were female. So it wasn't something that scared me. It was more just uncharted in where I work, which is a medium-sized company. And I just think it's one of those things where you look into who you are as a person and kind of draw deep on your unique perspective to navigate around that and see what you bring to the table, regardless of gender. And that's kind of how I felt like I addressed not seeing a lot of females, and then subsequently trying to bring up more females that have the talent with me.
So I totally agree with Karen and my friend Brittney. When we are in a corporate world, you experience things that you probably sometimes don't know. People are not gonna tell you everything, so just be you. Bring to the table, like you said, what you have, and that's the most important thing. That's how you're gonna show them up how you are, who you are, what you can bring to the table. You're in the right place right now. You're here. You're making a career. You're gonna get forward in life. So just be you. That's what I think.
That's great advice. So thank you for sharing that. And you can also even turn this. One thought is turning this to your favor, in that you bring a perspective that's different than others. And it's really when we think differently, that often innovation occurs and new thoughts that are adding value are occurring. So don't think of you being kind of different as a bad thing or a negative thing, but actually can be a very positive thing. It just requires us to be freed from the burden of thinking I'm sticking out, I'm different from others. But that difference is actually a superpower in a way. Well, thank you for that. So I want to move forward and kind of share another interesting study here, and this is from the BBC. And the study suggests that people often define themselves by their jobs, reflecting on their values or background, which can then sometimes be detrimental. And how this kind of manifests itself is we may not feel like we can be our authentic selves in the workplace because we're trying to fit in with the rest, which in a way actually can be very detrimental for our own success, because if we can't be our authentic selves, we can't really achieve our potential if we can't be ourselves. And so I've experienced this in my career, and looking back, and I want to. We as human beings want to fit in. We have a feeling, we have a sense that we want to belong, and so that can oftentimes be one of the areas that can be detrimental to our ability to succeed. So let me ask you this question. Let's go back a minute. Hopefully you still have it up. But to what extent do you feel that your personal identity has influenced your own personal journey? So go ahead and share what your thoughts on this one. So many of you are saying significantly influenced, somewhat. Some are still kind of unsure and exploring it, which is kind of one of the things we're doing here at university. We have that ability to kind of explore and ask these questions. But most of you feel like it's significantly affecting you in some way. So thank you for all of you who've shared your thoughts on this. So let me move forward now and ask another question. Okay, so in this question, what we have is, how has your identity shaped your career? And have you ever felt the need to adjust aspects of it for professional reasons? And how did you navigate that? So why don't we start with Mark on this one?
So my career, at least where I started, I got into accounting. Anybody studying accounting? Raise your hand. No accountants in the house? One? So we're already considered a little bit different, quirky per se, right? Because we think, at least I'm left-handed, so I feel I do think with the left side of my brain quite a bit. But in this profession, at least in the profession of accounting, you really don't see a lot of, at least I never really saw anyone of, my color, with my accent, even though English was my second language. And so, when I got promoted to a sort of senior management position at a very young age, I was experiencing some, where I didn't fit in. Everyone is, not to disrespect anyone, but older white male, 50 years and plus. And here I am in my 20s, holding positions that these guys have been doing for the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. So, and I think because of who I am and I knew who I was, that helped me get through that. And it was, knowing and looking back, you're an immigrant, you come from an immigrant family. You come from where, all you know is hard work. And that was it. I was like, you go to school, you can go play sports, but you go work because that's what your parents did. At least that's what my parents did. Saw it through my grandfather, growing up on farms. So if it wasn't for that, I think that's what helped me navigate through those tough times when I was in rooms and conferences where I was the only colored person in that room, only person that was bilingual, but yet knowing that I had all those aspects and those attributes, that made me feel that put me above all of them men that had years and years of experience above me, but I knew that they weren't better than me. So that's how I navigated through those challenging times.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. So one of the things I kind of teach if I do guest speaking or teaching at all, I always say that your perspective matters. I reiterate that. You said perspective, John, and I was like, oh, don't go too much on perspective. I really want to talk about it. The most important thing for me is that I think students, and even when you're first starting out your career, you might be nervous to ask questions or nervous to raise your hand or nervous to have a comment because you don't want to look a certain way or be perceived as something that maybe you don't want to be perceived as. I say that's not true, and you should definitely ask those questions, not only because it helps your perspective and how you learn, which is number one, the most important thing for you, but then it also helps the group learning. The community learns because you're asking questions that they're too afraid to ask. So, and to be honest, they don't really care if you look silly or not. Like, they're gonna forget it the next day regardless of your question. So you get to learn, and you're sharing your experience and your learning with other people. So your perspective, regardless of what it is, always matters, I think.
And I just wanted to add one thing to something you said, John, and as well as Mark. It took me a while to understand to be authentic, right? To be your authentic self when you show up. Because lots of folks say they're doing something they like to call code switching. And you're like, their voice changes, their diction changes, and they don't want to show their true self. I probably only really took this to being a thing to do maybe in the last 5 years, that you have to be your authentic self every time you show up. Don't think about how you might look on the outside, but your perspective, your identity, and your authenticity goes a long way. And that's how people start to respect you and appreciate what you have to offer, because they know you're being authentic and you're not trying to be something you're not.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that, because that's all I had was me and my authenticity. So once people saw, like, gosh, you know, this guy's a real deal. Maybe half my age, but he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what you're able to, you know, no one knows you better than yourself. And that's what you have to, you know, you have to put out there and not be afraid to do it, you know, because it's you. And no one's going to take care of you better than you. So.
But thank you for those great words of wisdom. And I want to move the conversation forward on a new topic. And this is the topic of mentorship. And so there was a study that was done here by Forbes where they looked at kind of those who participated in mentorship and those who didn't. And they found that employees who participated in mentorship are 5 times more likely to be promoted than those who don't. Let that sink in for a second. 5 times, that's a lot more. I didn't really appreciate this enough until I was kind of late in my middle of my career in corporate America. In some cultures, like with my parents, it's all about you do the hard work and then you get rewarded, and that's just the way it works. If you just work hard, then the benefits will come. But I think we're missing the fact that kind of in corporate America, mentorships is a big deal to be able to be successful, to learn from others. So I want to move forward with this kind of question for you. How do you view the importance of mentorship in your future career? As you kind of sit here and reflect on the future, do you think it's important for you? How do you kind of see that as you reflect internally, how mentorship fits within your future career? So most of you have kind of a little bit of leading the witness, right? But a lot of you are saying it's essential, which I'm glad to see that. Some are unsure and neutral. And so I think this is an area where some deep reflection internally can go a long way to help us frame how we can leverage others to help us be successful. And so for that, let me ask this question. How has mentorship played a role in your career? And can you share a story where mentorship made a significant difference in overcoming a barrier? And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Rafael.
So yeah, thank you, John. I think mentorship is a bridge between potential and expertise. So to that, I'm gonna cite a very clear example. In this room, I have one mentor, Professor Charles. He's been my mentor since I started at Lutheran. And guys, to you and to those people who spoke and said like they're not sure about that, yes, mentorship is very, very important. Mentorship can lead you into Sorry. Thank you. Mentorship is very important, guys. You have to have the networking experience to kind of get to that point too. So you can ask questions. You can cite your mentors. You can be with them in the moment that they need to be, and the networking is going to help you to do that. So if you ever are thinking about having a mentor, just go ahead and ask questions. I mean, I wrote something last night thinking about that, and if you let the system dictate to you whether you get an opportunity or not, you won't get that opportunity. Same thing works for mentorship. Mentors are out there. Of course, everybody wants to have Elon Musk or I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg as a mentor. That usually can happen, but we can find mentors along our way that can help us get to the point where we want to be. And I will ask you, go ahead, ask questions to everybody around you. You never know who can be your mentor. So,
Thank you, Rafael. Anybody else want to share any thoughts on the topic?
I think the formal mentorships are great, and also informal in terms of asking somebody that you look up to from a career perspective. Most times you'll find people want to help you, so just ask. And again, the worst thing that happens is they say no, and then you move on to someone else that does want to help you. But I just to give an example of mentorship for myself, so we do have a formal mentorship program for women at my company, and I was assigned to a really great mentor, and it was a small group mentorship. So it was like one mentor to 4 mentees. And so we got together twice a month and talked about what was going on. It was, cone of silence. Nothing was shared outside of it. And I was up for a promotion, and, I wanted to ask for more money, but I didn't really know how to do that without seeming too brash or too upfront. And my mentor was able to coach me through that. That's a difficult conversation potentially to have, not only with a group of women or my manager, but it's really important to speak up for yourself. And my mentor gave me that strength to do it. The bullet points to which I spoke in that meeting, and I wasn't able to get 100% exactly what I wanted, but I was able to get more than what they were offering me. And that's, again, I'll take that. I'll take anything. So, so I think mentors can help you with ideas, support, and I would say, just remember they're a voice, and they're not the voice. Like, your voice is the important thing to listen to. They're just another one to kind of help you with that tone or the volume or the message coming through. So highly recommend mentorships, and again, formal or informal, absolutely.
I would like to add on to that. I mean, I had a mentor even when I was an undergraduate that actually helped me get my first job into the pharma industry. If they hadn't recommended me for an internship, I don't know how I would have gotten into the industry at all, because it's not that easy to do. And I now mentor other people as well. Like, I've mentored people on how to negotiate their salary and getting the numbers they wanted. I've also mentored people at my company now when they join, because we're a consulting firm now, right? So we consult the pharma industry, but you come from pharma inside to consulting, and some folks have trouble doing that. And now I'm mentoring the new hires that come in, how they make that transition from being, going to work in the office every day to being at home and being consultant. And so I mentor even students on careers and navigating salaries and all these types of things, because I want to be able to give back. But it was such a help for me along the way to always have mentors, and now I mentor others as well.
Well, thanks for those great words.
Just to add just one more thing,
Please.
just a letter from a mentor can help you shape your life. So a reference letter or something that can help you get the next job. So don't be afraid to ask. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And so this actually kind of leads into a somewhat related topic. Brittney said, it's a voice, not the voice. And, it's kind of going to kind of self-reflection. So there's a study that found that students who engage in self-reflection and critical thinking about their experiences are more likely to develop a sense of purpose and direction in their academic and career paths, which ultimately leads to higher probability of success in both academic and your career. And so with that, let me ask you this question for the audience here. How do you perceive challenges and successes influencing your upcoming professional journey. How do you think they're going to affect your career journey? So most of you say they'll some of you strongly will shape your path. Some will influence but not dictate your choices. Some are unsure. Okay, so we got a bit of a diverse set of thoughts there. So to kind of expand on this, let me ask the panel here, how have challenges and successes influenced your career? And what advice would you give underrepresented students starting their journeys? So let me kick it off to Brittney on this one.
I have a lot that I wrote down on this. I'm going to try to keep it short. I really just think that the one strategy I've used is to be open to opportunities and flexible with change. I graduated with my my undergraduate degree in English a very long time ago here at CLU, and I now work in IT. 20 years ago, I never would have thought that would be the case. I was not into tech. I wasn't interested in anything related to it. Trust me. All I wanted to do was read books. And I knew one thing I didn't want to teach coming out of, I was 21 years old. I didn't want to go back to school and teach other people. So I just put myself in situations where I worked really hard and I did jobs that maybe weren't the most exciting things, but people saw my work ethic and were interested in working with me. And so they said, you should try something else. And I said, really? And I was very dependent on people seeing things in me that I didn't see. So that's one of the huge things I would say, when you go down your career path, is being open to things that maybe others see in you or other opportunities. It is very hard to be 21, 22, 23 years old coming out of school right now and thinking, oh, well, I have to have my life planned out for me. I got to prove to everybody that this degree means something. I got to go get a job. I got to go work really hard. I got to make a lot of money. I got to prove something. And I don't think that's what should drive you. I think that your unique experience and what you can offer is what should drive you, as opposed to, again, those dollar signs, which everyone wants to make money coming out of college. Trust me, I was there too. But I knew that I had to be reliant on opportunities and mentorships where people saw something in me, and someone telling me I should go back to school because I joined a professional group and someone, talked me into it. So the biggest thing is being open to change, open to opportunities, flexible with your career path instead of being blinders on, this is what I have to do.
Thank you. Anybody else on the panel want to share your thoughts on the topic?
I would add is when these challenges, you see all these obstacles in front of you, instead of looking at those obstacles as something you can't do, turn them into opportunities. How can this help you to propel yourself forward? Going ahead as you do move into your careers or you graduate from school, just like Brittney says, it's not about having an ideal path or a map, but using your time wisely to even reflect on things that interest you. I think a career goes a long way if you're doing something that interests you and something that excites you. And I always look at the end of the year and say, what could I have done better? What else do I need to learn? Taking time to do that so that you have that can create opportunities for yourself.
Yes, and also I think great. I can't top that, but I think for you, the most important thing is to know that changes can happen along the way. And sometimes you were like, oh, I went to my graduate degree and then, I read books. Now she works in IT. So changes happen and you're going to find that out throughout your career. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just like you need to prepare for the next thing. And then how you do that is just you just sit down, find your bullet points, and then see what's your priority right now, and then go from there.
Yeah, Brittney made a good point about, making a lot of money. You want to make a lot of money getting out of school. And I noticed, at least it was taught me that, hard work, if you work really hard, the money will come. But more importantly, before the money, doing what you love. If you love what you're doing every day, you'll never work a day in your life because you're doing what you love. Then if you get paid to do it, even better. But, that's what I at least focus on myself for, at least when I was coming up, is do I love what I'm doing? And if I didn't, I pivoted to put me back on that path where I was, it may have not been directly what I studied for or what I started my career for, but eventually it was what I love to do every day. So I wake up every morning, I don't go to work, I go do what I love to do. And they pay me a lot for it. So
Win-win.
yeah, it's a win-win.
Thank you. Those are great feedback. And so it's 12:03 right now. So I just want to make a quick comment. I know it's at 12:10 at the flagpoles up here, the university is holding a quick kind of reflection and support session for all the tragedies unfolding in the Middle East. So if you did want to make your way to that, that's fine. I know that starts at 12:10, so I want to acknowledge that. And so what I'd like to do now is I'll go ahead and jump into some Q&A. So I had another question, but I want to go ahead and allow it enough time so that we get some questions from the audience. What questions do you have that we haven't yet addressed thus far?
You have to ask questions. Remember, you have to.
Yes.
Or else.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, please. In
Yes.
the back over there.
I was just curious about how the mentorship program works, because I had no idea, to be honest. How did you meet your mentor, and how did that go about? In your class, or I don't know how that works.
So basically,
Of
how do we
course.
go about establishing a mentorship relationship and soliciting that?
Correct. Yeah. So, well, sometimes you cannot pick a mentor and that's going to happen, right? So you have to build that relationship, that trust relationship that can happen between you and your mentor. So for example, in my case with Professor Charles, that just happened organically because I was taking his classes, and you show the respect of what you're doing when you're learning what he's teaching you, and he appreciated that. And we became we started building that relationship, and at the end of my career, that it just happened. Like we started talking, and then he offered me, Rafa, if you need anything, you can count on me. So that's how you start just building a relationship.
Also, too, you have 2 or 3 gentlemen in here that can point you into the right direction to connect you with someone that they probably know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it done with Gerhard, where he's pointing to certain students that are trying to navigate through their careers. And a lot of times, you may not connect with the first person that they pair you up with, but it's like Rafael said, going and just asking that question, hey, who can I talk to? Or this is where I want to get to. Who do you know? Because obviously this institution has put out a lot of successful people that are out there in the workforce right now. So you have 2 gentlemen right here that'll point you in the right direction, and I guarantee they will not do you wrong.
One thing I'll just add on that, because I think it's important that you don't realize, is that people like helping people. So when you ask somebody for advice, actually you're helping them feel good to give back. So people generally feel good giving back to others. And so you're actually doing them a favor
Yeah.
by asking them for advice and mentorship.
When I
So
get
don't
these
be shy about
requests, it makes me feel awesome that I can get back to the university. I mean, that's the reason why I came back to teach, because I wanted to give back. But then when I get these, outside requests or emails, hey, or puts me in contact with someone, it makes me feel great that, hey, I have something that someone sees in me and saw in me, and now I can hopefully give back and maybe make that person feel the same. So.
Thank you. Yeah.
What you guys said is very inspiring. I would like to know what kind of approaches.
What type of strategies or approaches you guys use when it comes to inclusiveness? Being in the workforce, there are multi-generational employees and candidates. Working with different people, diverse backgrounds. So I was thinking, what strategies to bring that inclusivity to the workplace or to the work environment?
I mean, he was looking at you, but I'll answer.
No.
I'll
Yeah.
tee you
go
up.
ahead, yeah.
I think the most important thing that it counts as a strategy, because I'm going to say it does, but is being mindful of that everyone's a person. We all have our own experiences. We all have our own biases that we're bringing. We all have our own stories that we tell. And so if you don't forget that and you remember that at the forefront of your brain instead of the very back, it's easier to treat people more equally. I don't want, sometimes it's hard to do it equally, but we're all people. And so regardless of gender, age, any of those things, we are to treat each other kindly and in a respectful way. So that's not necessarily a strategy, but that's what I constantly tell myself, so I remember how to treat people.
I would add on to, as a strategy, participating in what we call at work employee resource groups, right?
Yep.
Rather, there's a group for every type of culture, background. And if you participate in those and even get more like a leadership role, one of them I did at Amgen, it was called the Amgen Black Employee Network, where I was responsible for careers and growth and also recruiting other people. Like, you want to be able to bring other people that look like you and build diversity into a company that it may be lacking, because now everybody wants to have diversity in their hiring practices. So working with others to bring these things to the forefront. And I feel that strategy has helped the company as well, the company's bottom line, and as well as mine.
Yeah, I agree. One of my strategies is I would always put myself on the line of my employees so they see my face, even just a simple good morning. Like Brittney saying, being kind. That's probably one of the easiest forms of kindness, is to say hello, right? But it goes so far. And a lot of managers, middle managers, and the higher ups, they forget about that. They let the titles get in the way. And for me, it was, sticking back to my roots. These people are just like me, regardless of color, race. They're working for me. They're doing something that's, that they could go do somewhere else, but they're choosing to do it with me, for me, as opposed to, I'm just here. Here's another day with this management team that's just grinding me and riding me to the end. But like I said, I'd go out and make sure that whoever was working out in the field or wherever it is, I'd go and say good morning. At least they'd see my face, and they would know, man, this guy has no problem getting his hands dirty. And when you get them to do that, or they see that, man, they'll go to the moon for you. So
Yeah, and just thank you for that. Just the last thing that I want to add is, when you implement processes in your work and in the organization that you are for, think about how you can help from your boss to the janitor. Like, how can your work impact all of them? And so that's a way also to see the spectrum of where you are and how you can help them.
Thank you. You have time for maybe one more question? Cecily in the back? Can I get you the microphone?
I just wanted to ask, how have you personally navigated your professional success with familial expectations? And maybe you see some of that in the people that work for you too, since you're all in positions of management.
you want to take that, Karen?
Well, when I started, there definitely wasn't people exactly like me, but there were definitely women in positions that I wanted to be in, right? And looking at that, there weren't a lot of women, but I find, and for me, it's like, you want to bring somebody along with you, right? Never feel that you are so high up that you're not remembering that somebody opened the door for you. Like, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere in my career if somebody hadn't said, hey, Karen, I think you should go over here. I think you should learn this. I think you should go back to school or whatever, those types of things. So always think about the person behind you not just the position you want to be in. So being a leader to me, I always keep this is that my job is to develop future leaders. It's not about me. Like, I don't care if you can take over my job. It's just not what I think about. I'm not thinking about where I am, but it's like how I can get you to be where I am or beyond me.
Yeah, my focus was always, how can I make my subordinates better than me? And not that I was afraid they're going to take my job, but when they were successful, I was successful.
Exactly.
Right? So my success depended on everybody and all those branches and those roots below me, you know? And it was my job to train them, to coach them, to be there, to support them. Because in essence, you know, I was working for them. They weren't working for me, and making them realize that I was here to support them, to make them the best that they can be, made it easier for me to manage them, because at that it gets to a certain point where they're self-managed. They know their goals, they know what they want to be, they know what they need to do, but also if they need something from me, they know I was the first one to open that door or answer the question. You know, I worked 24/7, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and I'd get phone calls. I remember when I was finishing off the MBA program in Paris, and I had my employees calling me it was 7 a.m. there, but it was 10 p.m. at night in Paris. And I'm here running through balance sheets and trial balances because they needed support. But that just went, you can't even put words to what it helped them to be able to get their job done. So things like that go a long way.
No, thank you for those great insights. So we're almost coming at time here. We'll have more time for questions if you want to stick around, but I know some of you may have some class after this. What I'd like to do is ask for your feedback before we break. And also don't forget there's lunch back there. So if you can make sure you go to menti.com, there's a code again on top. If you have it open, it's still there. And then they can give us your feedback. You can also type in comments if you have some comments in there. But at this point, what I'd like to do is let's give a big round of applause for our panel. We're very appreciative of their insights and the time that they've given back to our community here. And again, we'll stick around here. If anybody has more questions, you can go ahead and ask those. We'll kind of around here. And then make sure you take some quesadillas, because otherwise Gerhard's gonna have to eat them all. And then a few more comments here from
So really quickly, Mary Jo Shane, I'm the Director of Global Engagement and Diversity for the School of Management. Again, so appreciate you being here. Again, want to thank a fabulous panel of Cal Lutheran alumni. It's wonderful. And I also want to thank the members of our DEIJ team. If you would raise your hand. Yeah. Yes. You know, this is really a team effort. And, you know, we have a really diverse group of team members on our committee. We do, events are isn't the only thing we do. So, great diversity. We have students on our team. We have faculty. We have staff. We have one of Gerhard Applethaller's board members. We have a really great team, and we're looking for alumni. So, okay, just saying. So if anyone is interested or knows of somebody who is an alumni, they can email me. And then thank you to our audience again. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you.